Welcome to the Great Distraction.
Welcome back, folks. This is The Great Distraction, and today the topic of discussion is credit cards. My name is Ben, and with me today are my co-hosts Thomas.
How's it going?
And Shane.
Hey.
Thank you for joining us. The Great Distraction is a podcast that focuses on a vast and random range of topics, and we hope that each episode leaves you with, if nothing else, something to ponder. As always, we would love to hear from you. Questions, comments, and topic suggestions are always welcome. You can contact us on Facebook or by email at greatdistractionpodcast@gmail.com. And just a quick reminder, if you are listening to our podcast on an Apple device, please take a moment to leave us a rating and review and hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out in the rankings, and we just all around generally appreciate the love.
Show us some love. Come
Yeah.
on.
And
No love, people.
Yeah. And speaking of all the love, I'm sure all of you out there with credit cards know how much they love us.
The sucker born every time we sign that line.
Oh, man. I am single-handedly trying to keep the credit card companies alive.
Single-handedly. You're doing a good job.
I think I am. Apparently, a lot of us are. Some of the stats, which we'll get into here, I found an awesome, because I love that kind of crap. Awesome source. I'll mention it when we get into that section of stats. But it is insane, man. It's just to get you thinking along the lines. As of, let's see, so this source, I'll quote the source later, but anyway, per Federal Reserve was a source for this stat. As of March of 2019, the consumer credit debt total was $1.057 trillion.
Wow.
And that's just credit cards alone.
That's just the debt that America covers.
Yeah. Carries
on credit cards.
On credit cards. That's how much credit cards, that's how much we use our credit cards. That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. So I guess that kind of, before we get further into stats, I guess the first thing I thought of when I was thinking, how do we approach this topic is how the hell did we get here with $1 trillion of credit card debt?
I was going to try to balance it on my calculator, but I can't put a trillion in my calculator.
You could put 1 0 0 0 0 0.
How many zeros are in a trillion?
Oh my goodness, 9? Is that
1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
6 would be
7, 8, 9.
Yeah, 6 would
See,
be.
it'll only go up to 100 million.
My
calculator won't go up to a trillion.
Well,
so we can't even calculate our debt. It's so high.
Then do 999 all nines. That would be
nines?
right under, all nines.
999.
While Thomas messes around with that.
It'll only go up to 999. Well, that's close enough.
That's close enough,
Okay,
yeah.
so how many people are in America?
Oh, man.
What, 350 million? Let's just say 350 million.
Something like that. We had that stat from another one. I can't remember what episode that was. I can't. Yeah,
that's 350 million, right? The zeros throw me off. I can't see.
So what's that like? Goes in three times.
That's about $2,800 a person.
Huh. Well, so that's for every single person.
But that would consider
baby,
that would
child,
be everybody's 2-year-old baby has a credit card.
That you can't really use that stat because that also includes people that are under 18, and
that's
if
true.
they're under 18, they can't have a credit card.
So it's probably only like 100 million people. Yeah. So let's just say it's 3 times. So that's like 6-7 grand.
Let's get to the real stats.
I'm trying to make shit up as I go. That's what credit card companies do.
Yeah. Oh no, they know what they're doing. So let's go into history, a little bit of history. In 1958, and again, we're not talking about credit in general. We're talking specifically about credit cards. Credit in general is way more of a broader topic, so we're just focusing on that. 1958, Bank of America launched what was called the Bank AmeriCard. That's one word, Bank AmeriCard. And they chose Fresno, California. And they chose Fresno as the first place to launch credit cards. This new Bank America.
1958.
In 1958, okay. And they chose Fresno because 45% of its residents used their bank, Bank of America. So they looked at their values and pulled their demographics, and were like, okay,
we got a hit.
We got a lot. This is the most amount of our customers in one concentrated area. So they sent out 60,000. This is 1958. 60,000 of these Bank AmeriCards to residents in order to convince to do two things. One, to make sure everybody had one, and two, they were kind of stuck in a loop that the banks couldn't figure out how to overcome. It was I was reading one article and they had cleverly put it the which came first, the chicken or the egg scenario. And the problem is that they couldn't get retailers to accept credit cards because they didn't want to pay the fees, and there was nobody who had credit cards. Well, they couldn't get the people to use the credit cards because there was no place they were accepted. So you get back and forth and back and forth.
They needed to build the infrastructure.
That's it. Yeah.
So they decided to lay the egg.
Yeah. So
the golden egg.
Golden goose. For them, it was a golden egg.
Golden goose.
So
bank of golden gooses.
They sent out 60,000 of these cards to residents, right? And in order to convince the stores to start taking them, to retailers to start accepting them. And of course, they were charging the retailers, to use each of these cards. So they wanted to make money there as well as off the interest of the people. But yeah, so that was how they got the local retailers to start accepting. People start using them once they all had them, and then they started licensing that credit card to other banks and financial institutions around the U.S. And then ultimately
they started licensing that.
Yeah, because you have to, in order to accept the credit card, you have to be a licensee. Your business has to be licensed, or if you want to be a bank that accepts another bank's credit card, because back then nobody had credit cards. Nowadays, it's all the same networks, and we're all kind of.
I'm thinking if they were licensing, that means they were charging.
Oh yeah, they were charging. Oh yeah. They were making money all around on this thing. That's why it was so important.
Money Tree was just shaking.
Oh yeah, it was amazing. And then so this was kind of interesting. The early credit reporters apparently kept millions of index cards in what looked like, I saw a couple of pictures of these places. They looked like I imagine old school libraries to look kind of, and they would just those cards. What was that system called?
The Dewey Decimal
The
System.
Dewey. There you go. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
You know how they used to come in those little, and then they would be stored in those little like wooden drawers anyway. So it looked like a whole crap load of those. And apparently on these millions of index cards contained the information on individual credit card users. So their clients, essentially, right? Us. And they were saying that credit card reporters, which I guess is why they're called that, because they were reporters that would go out and fish for information, they would go out and research local newspapers for notices of arrests, promotions, marriages, deaths, etc., to attach to people's credit cards or credit card reports,
To adjust their credit score.
or not give them credit, or advertise to them more heavily.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah,
Now they just got Facebook.
Yeah, right. I'll go into how they were using that in a minute here, because it was just ridiculous. Okay, so moving along in the timeline, 1966, MasterCharge was formed. This was the lead competitor. Later, to Bank Americard. Later, it became known as MasterCard. And Bank Americard in 1976 became Visa. They combined with a few other licensees and formed what we now know as Visa. So there's your Visa and MasterCard. Those are the two biggest credit card companies around. And so that takes us back to, we're at 1976. Let's see. And apparently at first, credit cards were intentionally mailed to known unemployable people, drunks, narcotics addicts, and compulsive debtors.
So they're basically just trying to get people to spend money they don't have, because
That's
if you have money, that's how they're getting them to use the cards. Because if you have the money to buy the thing and you're not used to using a credit card, why would you use it?
Yeah, and that's how people looked at it in the beginning. They're like, "This is stupid. Why would I pay you to spend money? Like, I don't need."
That's
that.
the way I feel about banks in general. How
Yeah.
did the first bank open? Did they, oh no, just give us your money and then we'll give it back to you when you need it.
We can protect your
We
money.
can protect your money better than you can
until we get robbed. But yeah.
Or the stagecoach.
So
culture.
very much along the same lines of getting people to use it, But yeah, they specifically targeted people who who they knew would put themselves in debt. And this practice was called drops, and it was made illegal in 1970 due to the obvious financial chaos it caused.
Because it sounded like when you said it, talked about the card being created, it sounded like it was just sent to people.
Mm-hmm.
Like now you have to apply for them, but now they originally just sent out a bunch of free credit to
They're like,
people.
well, Dave's been arrested 7 times for drunk and disorderly. Let's get him a card.
That was my next. That was the next thing on my point right here. After 1970, when that law passed, only credit card applications could be mailed out. But before that passed, there were already 100 million cards sent out at that time. So I mean, they were already they had already gotten the point across.
They're going to do
and
whatever
done-
they can
Yeah.
until somebody steps in and says, this is
Yeah.
unethical
This is like large
and illegal.
This is like large corporations doing something that they know is unethical or illegal
Right.
that they're going to get in trouble for, and then when they finally do get in trouble, years later after they made billions of dollars,
Yeah.
they get a slap in the fight. They get a fine for $20 million.
We need you guys to pay a $20 million fee. We just made $7 billion in
Yeah.
the last 20 years
I
doing
mean,
this.
this kind of goes to, like, a sane person would think, well, why would you send a credit card to somebody that you know may not be able to pay that card? But they're making money in so many other places that they probably don't even care to get that money back.
Well,
they
the
just want
merchant-
people to use the credit
Yeah,
cards.
well, the merchant that they use it for, that merchant's got to pay the fee to get their money.
Yeah, so
The
they're making
users
money
gotta
on
everybody's paying.
every which way.
Yeah, and on top of that, they also know that they have the law on their side. It's not like if I loan somebody money and they don't pay me back, what the hell am I going to do about it? I can take them to small claims court, or I can let it go, or whatever. No, they don't care. They just turn you over to the police because they have the law on their side. So not only, they can garnish your wages. They can do. They can put you in jail for if you go far enough. I mean, so they don't even need to deal with not.
They've got nothing to lose.
No, they have nothing to lose. That was my point. Yes.
Wow.
In 1989, the FICO score was introduced, FICO, and quickly became the standard. So that's when that thing.
That wasn't that long ago.
No, it really
Wow.
wasn't. It really wasn't. And now there's a new one. It's called
Social credit score?
Vantage Score. One word, Vantage Score is, I guess, becoming the new FICO. I did not look up the differences, so I'm sorry, I can't talk on that. But those scores are much bigger than just credit card scores. That's why I didn't really look into that stuff. That's for like, your credit score of all types of credit, not just credit cards. Now, as I understand it, your FICO score is 35% comprised of credit card related usage, I guess.
Yeah, I always thought that it was 35% of available credit. Like every person has an available credit. Like if you have a credit card.
No, that was part of it, is what I was reading. So, like, of that 35% of your FICO score that comes from information from your credit card usage, it is how much potential credit do you have? What is your debt to income ratio? What is, like, it's all things credit card
So that
related.
whole 35% is all of those combined.
Yeah, it's broken up
of the credit
Yeah,
card.
that 35% is broken up into a bunch of other things too within itself. I had a diagram here that was real cool, but I didn't. Obviously, I can't show a diagram. But yeah, anyway,
Show us the pie graph.
shows. Yeah, it's all pie graphs. Yeah. So
Everybody see this?
yeah, speaking of pie graphs here now, that's a great transition into these stats. Okay, so let me give you some of these stats because this stuff is fucking mind-boggling. There's a web page, or the web page where I found all of these. If you're curious, there's a lot of information, and it's really, really cool stuff. It's on the website Lexington Law, and they quote Experian, FICO, Federal Reserve. It's all the sources are very who would have this information. So should be legit. But again, you guys should always do your own research. And the website, if you're going to Google it, is the webpage, average credit card debt statistics, and it's at lexingtonlaw.com. I don't know too much about Lexington Law, but like I said, these
All I know is it won't come up on my server.
Really? It doesn't come up when you search it?
Nope.
Okay. Well. Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so let me give you the stats here. Then maybe you won't be able to find it. In 2018, America. Oh, well, we already talked. I'm sorry. We already reiterated that one. As of March of 2019, $1.057 trillion in credit card debt. 43% carry a credit card balance every month. 43% of the population. 57% do not. That's almost half of us with carrying over debt, which means that's almost half of us paying credit card interest.
Wow.
Yeah, because if you're carrying a
I need to buy stock in these credit card companies.
They are good.
I need to go the reverse direction with them.
Yep.
Instead of giving them money, I need
thought
to
about-
get them to give
I'm
me
watching
some
them.
money. Do they pay
I'm watching.
dividends?
Yeah, they do.
They do? Shit.
interesting.
So that's it, everybody. Cut up your credit cards and then buy stock.
Buy stock.
And MasterCard and Visa.
In 2017, and I didn't find a later stat for this one. In 2017, the average credit card balance was $6,354.
Hey, that was real close to the one I rattled off earlier.
Was it?
Yeah, remember? I tripled it because we said only maybe 100 million out of 300 million people.
Oh yeah, there you go. Okay,
pretty
And
good.
that's
Yeah.
per Experian. The average FICO score in 2018 was 704. And 15% of families admitted to spending more than they receive each month, and that's from the Federal Reserve. tons more stats, some really cool stuff to look at on this particular web page. Some more notable things I found. It looks like off the same web page. It looks like, from what they're saying, the highest credit card debt amount by age. So they have this breakdown. I don't know if actually that probably doesn't make sense the way I said that. They have this breakdown of the amount of credit debt a person has in an age range. And it's like 18 to 22, 23 to 27, blah, 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 blah. And the one with the most, the highest, was 43 to 47, with a real close 48 to 52. And those were both about $4,000 for the amount of debt that somebody's credit debt that the person is carrying with them. There seems to be a bubble. I don't know if you call that stat a bubble, an upside down bowl. I don't know. Anyway, when in our middle
curve,
like a bell curve.
Yeah, okay.
A boob.
A boob. Yeah, it is boob.
It'd be a ball sack.
No.
Do you have a ball sack of credit? Most people do.
Yeah.
Call us today and we'll help you refinance.
We'll help you deal with your ball sack. So with the high peak of about 4,000 seeming to be around ages from 43 to 52, we kind of, like when you're young, very little, but goes up and up and up and up and peaks at mid to late 40s, somewhere around there, and then back down. And then it only goes up to 77 plus is the highest age. But
I think it's when you're younger, you can't get credit. And you're trying to get it, and it takes a while to get it. And then when you get it, you're like, oh, shit, now I'm in credit card debt.
Now
and
I'm in
then
midlife.
And then you're freaking out in midlife crisis, and then you're trying to pay it all down. And when you get smart enough, because you've already gone through this ringer, as you get older and get smarter, you're like, okay, get out of that.
That top is probably where you file bankruptcy as well. So you just
what's the average age of bankruptcy?
ditch all your credit.
Actually, I didn't see any stats on bankruptcy. That's good. That's a good question. I didn't even look in that. They have another section here that is credit card debt by income level. That was kind of weird because I don't know. I guess it makes sense. Obviously, the more you make, the more credit people are spending, right? But it was really surprising to see people, like they were saying, income less than $25,000 a year, they have an average of $3,000 of credit debt. Like, holy crap, man! That's like a percentage of your income. That's like a good size percentage. But I guess that's the same
it's
as
more than
as
10%, right?
Yeah, that's quite a bit, man. That's Yeah, anyway, so I thought that one was interesting. That was sourced from the Federal Reserve. This one was really cool. There's a breakdown on here of credit card debt by state. And when I read that, the first thing I thought was, oh, shit, California's got to be one of the highest. No, not even close, actually.
Hey, way to go, California.
I know, it's amazing. The highest was, let me see here, where to go. States with the highest average credit card debt. The highest is Alaska, like by far, for some weird reason. And that is at $10,091. And then the other weird thing is all of the states with the highest, the top 4 after Alaska, they're all bunched together. They're all, for some reason, on the East Coast, including Virginia and up above Virginia. So Connecticut, Virginia, and New Jersey, and Maryland. All 4 of those are the next highest under Alaska.
I can see that. New Jersey is one of the most expensive places in the country to live by far.
So they're running up their credit debts out there, huh?
Yeah, earlier we were talking about different expenses and taxes and things. How California, people complain about the taxes in California, but if you look at the reality, and a lot of articles I read going through this talked about different states, Pennsylvania was the highest overall taxes, and the East Coast, a lot of places, New Jersey pays the most taxes, I guess, percentage of taxable entities, I guess.
Yeah, so all those people who are hating California for how much we pay in taxes, we're actually not as bad as some
New Jersey. Another reason to say, at least we're not in New Jersey.
Yeah.
Nice. Sorry for all the New Jersey people.
They know it.
So, so that stat was really freaking crazy, man. Alaska's $10,000. Connecticut was the next highest at $7,200. I mean, what a difference! Like, I don't know what is up with Alaska.
When you said that earlier, I started thinking about that, and I was like, okay, my same thought go through about it. I was thinking maybe it's because most of the people who live in Alaska are so remote that they have to use credit cards to buy things, or
because they don't have. Well, this is debt though. So if they're using credit cards more,
but if you're using your credit card to debt to buy, even if it's yours, you can't just drive to the local store. They're probably like, I have a buddy who has I guess a seasonal house in Alaska, and when they go up there, they order everything online.
So you're saying they buy maybe a larger bulks of things because
maybe. I'm not saying that's reality. I'm just saying maybe.
What Thomas is saying is because they're more remote, they're more likely to use their credit card to buy anything. And the more likely you are to use your credit card, the more likely you are to have a balance that remains and therefore run up debt.
Yeah, because I'm like here, like there's a lot of times like I like supporting brick and mortar stores, especially if they're good ones or family owned or whatever. So I'm more inclined because they're closer to go places and buy things with cash or my debit card, I guess, which is to me is cash, as opposed to just buying everything on a credit card.
Yeah.
Maybe, like I said, I was trying to figure out if maybe because of the remoteness and the isolation of most of the residents in Alaska, maybe they're forced into a situation where a lot of their purchases, they're just
Maybe,
using
but
the card.
that's not the only rural
No,
state in the U.S.
No, but it's pretty rural compared to everything else.
Really?
Oh my God, Alaska.
Okay.
Yeah, there's places you might have to drive 150 miles to go to a local store.
They also have those weird daylight hours where there's bolts of
So maybe
time
they're
in
shopping
darkness.
more.
Yeah, right. They're awake 23 hours in the sun.
It's a weird state.
Yeah,
It's a weird place.
It's a weird place.
And they have a lot of credit card debt.
Apparently, yeah. Damn. So okay, and their average individual credit card debt growth since 2014. This is kind of interesting. I expected it to be higher, but it doesn't seem to have gone up that much. In 2014, it was about 5,500, and then now in 2018, it's about 6,000. So I mean, it only went up.
Does it show an average dip before the recession?
This particular graph only goes to 2014, so it didn't go.
Because that'd be an interesting number to know. Because I think a lot of people after the recession kind of learned fiscal lessons that they didn't know before.
Probably.
I mean, my brother and I used to joke that now that everybody's gone through the recession, they live like we do.
I mean, after the Great Depression, there were a lot of people that survived that lived completely different than before that happened.
Oh, absolutely. It teaches you lessons that you don't want to repeat if you're halfway smart. And I think a lot of people, we were talking earlier about how younger people don't want to invest in things like stock and credit cards and things like that because they grew up in a time when they were younger. They probably remember the recession as their parents having a really tough time and all the struggles that they went through, and they don't want to repeat those. I mean, it seems like most millennials I know are totally against buying stock.
Yeah, absolutely.
And weird little things like that.
Because they don't want their money to just vanish.
Yeah. And they've watched their parents
basically go to
that.
half of what the value was.
Yeah, it's definitely a risk. That's why it's a game. Lowest average credit cards debt for this. I forgot to put this one in there. Mention this one earlier. So for the states that have the least amount of credit debt, the least goes to Iowa. Iowa, Wisconsin, Mississippi, North Dakota, and West Virginia. So something about going from West Virginia to Virginia is a massive amount of credit difference.
That's a really thick state line.
Yeah, no kidding. Jesus.
Apparently.
Wow.
So that's what I've got for stats. Again, if you're interested in more, that website has that's some cool stuff. If you're interested in numbers.
And you can pull it up. Cool.
Yeah, and you can find it because Thomas couldn't even find it. So
no, it pulls it up. It just when you go to click on it, it says it won't allow me to open the. Maybe it has cookies.
Maybe your credit's not good enough to look at it.
Yeah, I know, right? My credit's. Hey, man, I'm at 741.
So all this being said so far, why, or rather these facts, these numbers thrown at you there, why do we use these things?
We've been conditioned to.
We have definitely been conditioned to.
Clearly, they trained us by just giving us a bunch of credit up front.
I know.
Now that's our life.
It's like when the dentist gives you a toothbrush, you go, "Oh, I get a free toothbrush."
Yeah.
Why live within your means? You don't have to.
We have definitely been conditioned over time to consider this method of living, a method of buying things, acceptable, because. I mean, especially as the new generations keep growing up or whatever, they
just accept this as
it's
part
been
of the
there
game
all their lives.
Yeah, and you hear a lot of people too when they buy stuff or they do their financing. They don't say, "Well, how much does this cost me?" They say, "How much does that cost a month?"
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
Which I think is absolutely. I'm like,
that.
are you serious?
With the cell phones is the latest thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we got rid of. That's great. So we got rid of our 2-year contract pricing, right? At which point the phones used to be for a high-end smartphone, $700-800, but you were getting it half off because you were signing a 2-year contract. You were walking out the door paying $350 for a new phone, maybe $250, maybe even free, depending on how cheap your phone.
A lot of them were free.
Yeah. Now they introduced these freaking payment plans. You're paying the full price for the phone, still signing a contract, and but it's only monthly. So when they sell you the phone, it's this one's $5 a month extra, or this one's $7, but it's only $2 a month extra. But you're paying $900 for the phone, $1,100 for the phone.
think about the impact of this, because now phones are potentially like $1,500
Yeah.
for a phone.
Yeah.
But this started off with, say, cars. Think about, I mean, if we didn't have credit, how would most people buy a car right now for $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000
How
for
many
a
people
car?
gonna have that much
Wouldn't.
cash?
And then houses. Like
Yeah.
before that credit, a lot of people would just buy a house, right? They'd save the money. How would you save up like $400,000 to buy a house?
Yeah.
So it's like
plans.
change. I wonder if it's actually raised the value
Oh, it
of
has.
the prices
That's what I was
of
just gonna
things
say.
because people are allowed
because you can do a payment plan
to make payments.
Absolutely. So we shot ourselves in the foot by accepting this payment plan mentality.
Yeah.
And they were probably going to do it anyway to us. We probably really didn't have a say or control over it. But nevertheless, yeah, when we made it more feasible to extend out, and they're still doing it because you see car loans going to 72 months now
Oh yeah.
or
Yeah.
longer,
Yeah.
80-month loans.
And you know what you started with, the phones. I mean, I don't know if even 4 years ago anybody would think about paying $1,000 or $1,500 for a phone.
Well, they are now, but they're not doing it up front.
Right.
It's only $5
Payments.
a month.
Right.
Yeah, right.
$20 a month, whatever the hell it is.
The rest
25
of your
bucks a month.
life.
Rest- yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing is, and it's the same way with any other bill too. You know, like with a credit card, like it's only your minimum payment. You only got to give us $100 a month, and you can have $6,000 worth of credit
For the rest of your life.
rest of your life. $72 is going to the interest
Yeah. Yep.
per month.
So the most common, simple answer is as to why we use these things is just plain and simply because we want things now that we don't have the money to buy.
Well, it was interesting when Shane was bringing up the thing about buying a house, because there was a point in time when I don't know an exact answer to this, but I believe there was a point in time where when things cost less, obviously people were making less money. But if the cost of a house versus the amount of money you made per year was, say, less than 50%, which you'll never see that again. That's not, I mean, unless you're making, $500,000 a year or more. But as we've got, as the cost of living has gone up, a lot of the basics have gone up exponentially in price too. Like cars, houses, all these things. So we've entered into a financial situation where we can't, as an average citizen, afford the basics. So how are we going to afford those?
Credit?
We're going to give you credit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the debt's the only way to do it.
It's the only way to do it. This is the only way, and we've been conditioned to believe that this is the only way you will ever own any of these things. You have to do it. This is
But
how
there's still
important it is to you.
countries that people will save up the money to buy their house. So we have
Or a car.
allowed the values of these things, I think, to run away because we've allowed people to, because we are paying monthly for it. So it's
Well,
made
they've made
something
it easier for us to pay monthly.
It's like the value of the things became uncoupled from
That's a
the
good point.
ability to pay for them, because now we don't have to pay all the money up front.
And most people don't even know what the actual end amount they're paying on something is.
No,
If
no.
if it's in my budget, I have $300 extra in my budget a month. That costs me $200. Oh, I can afford it.
Yeah.
They don't think of the long term of like, oh yeah, you can afford it, but instead of paying 48 payments on it, you're going to pay 90.
Yeah. Yeah, and instead of buying the car for $40,000, you're actually going to be paying 56 or
Right.
whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, it puts us in a situation where the average person, they couldn't buy that car any other
Yeah.
way.
Yep.
But I mean, there are other ways if you're going to buy and finance things to try to. But again, we talked about this earlier. This whole credit card and credit thing is a game, and it should be treated like a game. I think that people take it too seriously, or they get in this crazy debts. I dated a girl one time when I was younger, and I found out she was $60,000 in credit card debts.
Damn.
She was like 23 years old.
So,
and I was like, how do you even rack up $60,000 of credit card
racking
debt?
it up is not is part of
And
the
where
issue.
is the stuff that you got
Yeah.
for $60,000?
The other side of that same coin is that nobody should have ever given her credit limits with the ability to rack up that much credit.
But that's the game. That's what they want. That's
she
the
can
plan.
afford the payments. I dated somebody who
Yeah.
had $30,000 worth of debt, and she had a good job and she could make the payments, but it would take her forever to pay that.
She would
off.
never pay it off.
Because of the interest was the main problem. If you're paying 20% interest, 15, 20% interest on that.
If your minimum payment is
Jesus.
$100 a month and $38 is going to the principal,
Yeah.
and that's about what the rate would be if you're paying 28, 29% interest.
if you're paying minimum payment period, you're not,
Well,
you're
minimum
not
payment
trying
period,
to pay
yeah.
it off. But
Yeah.
Because I was doing financial stuff at the time, I was trying to help her out. When I showed her what that looked like in real life, she cried. So she started crying when she realized the mess she was
Never
in.
going to get out of it.
But the thing is, all these companies, just like we were talking about from 1958 on, there's been a campaign to re-educate people to think in a specific manner so that they can be profitable.
Yeah.
It's like with any other industry.
Definitely.
You know,
And so that they
this
can
is-
raise prices on stuff simultaneously. It's like a double win for them.
Yeah.
And they can charge all the retailers money too. It's like a triple win for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was no way to lose with that credit thing for them.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
It seems stupid. And the thing with the retailers paying the money and I remember I worked at a small family business in the 90s, and it was when people were really starting to use debit cards a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And back then you had to pay a fee to use a debit card. And I remember it was like, I don't know, 2% or 1.5% or something like that. And my boss who owned the place, when people would use their card, whether it's credit card or whatever, if he knew he was going to pay a percentage, he would tell them, "Oh, you have to pay this fee." And people got mad, and they would either not pay for it or not buy something or some other form of doing it. He was trying to pass that on.
Yeah.
And I remember a long time ago, it seemed like in the 90s and the early 2000s, I felt like a lot of merchants used to try to pass that percentage on.
They still do.
Well, they still do.
35 cents to use your ATM at some
Yeah,
places.
well, like at Arco, if you want to use
Yeah.
your, it's like, but a lot of those merchants have learned that it's easier to absorb it and raise their prices so that you don't see that.
Yeah, because you don't know you're paying it.
Yeah. So there's a lot of those fees that get kind of hidden between everybody, and everybody's in cahoots. Everybody's in it to make money.
Yep. Why else do we use them? Building credit. And building that credit history and earning that FICO score or whatever other credit score there is may not be the only way to do it, but it is a common necessity to make larger purchases like a home or a car, or enter into leases. A lot of rental property or whatever they want to do. Part of their background check that they like to do on potential tenants is via a credit check. You can qualify for lower insurance rates with a good credit score. You can. It's kind of used like almost like a social credit value thing. For
Your
lack
payment
of,
history.
Yeah.
But the thing about the FICO scores is that only measures your debt.
FICO score only measures your debt. What do you mean? It's broken into
It's your
like
debt
5
history.
different.
It's how you
I
pay
guess
your
it's
debt.
How you handle your debt, right?
How you pay your debt.
'Cause I guess that's what it's mostly
how much
comprised
debt
of.
it's almost all of it is.
So if you never had any credit cards or any credit,
Then you never had debt.
Then you have no FICO score.
Because you've never had debt.
So it's managing your debt. How you manage your debt.
It's how you
is what
manage
that-
your money
Well, I
too.
think
so to a certain
people think
degree.
that it measures how they manage their debt, but I think in the overall it measures how much debt you've had.
Well, no, because they do. There is a percentage of it that looks at, okay, so you have a credit card and you have a $5,000 limit on the credit card and you haven't used it in 3 years. That says something, as opposed to,
But it doesn't give you a better credit score.
it is calculated into the credit score.
But it doesn't give you a better one because you're not using it.
I don't know how it's rated. It might.
You're not. No, it's not. I've dealt with this in credit cards before. If you have a credit card that's sitting in your wallet and you're not using it, it does not improve your credit score at all. You have to use it.
So now I heard that the potential, because it can say two things. Because one section is how do you use it and make your payments on time? That's part of a percentage. Another section of it was calculating that you have the risk or the potential to put yourself in great debt and you have avoided it. So that says something about you too. So if you've got 2 credit cards that have $10,000 limits and you don't have $10,000 balances on them, the way I had heard it was that could make you look good because you have a temptation that you don't.
But I think the downside is that you don't have a payment history, and so they don't.
It's measuring your debt. So like we talked about before, how like 35% of your credit score is basically your credit card debt, your credit cards. So like I said, this is what my comment is: if you have a credit card and you're not using it, it is not impacting your credit score. You have to be making payments, moving money, processing, using their system is how they give you scores. If you're not using their system, they're not giving you anything in return, which is what turns around as a FICO score.
Okay, here we go. So Experian.
The 5 factors of your score, I believe there's 5.
Payment history, utilization, length of credit history, recent activity, credit mix, that's the 5th, and credit mix refers to the different kinds of accounts you have, including mortgages, credit cards, auto loans, and other installment loans.
And all those are debts.
Yes.
So it's measuring your debt.
Yeah, I see that.
Payment history. So the recent usage, I think, is the big part of that, is the activity on the
Utilization.
credit lines.
Yeah, that credit utilization, I think that's the one I'm talking about that's
Yeah.
35%.
Yep, looks like it. Well, no, that's 30. That one says 30%. Payment history is 35.
Payment history is 35?
But again, you need to have debt to have a payment history.
Yeah.
You have to.
Yeah, you have to have a balance.
Yeah.
So those two things
Or
are
have had
almost
a
the same
balance
thing. So
anyway.
really, it's almost like 65%.
Yeah,
Yeah, because they both work interactively
yeah.
together. Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, that's what I say too. And I think another myth on the credit card thing, and this is what, when I was talking conversation about my friend who knew nothing about credit, who was trying to buy a house, and we were trying to help out with some advice. Your balance, the number that you carry, doesn't necessarily as important as people think. Like I've had people that think that if I only have $300 in a credit balance, that's not helping my credit score. That's wrong.
Oh, I haven't heard that. I've heard as long as you're making the payments, whatever it is.
Oh yeah, there's an argument either way to that, but your balance is your credit is majorly, just like we said with those two, the 35 and 30%. Your utilization, how much are you using it? If you're not using it, they're not giving you any credit for using it, so you're not going to help your credit score. And then your payment history, so you have to use it and have a payment history. But the other determining factor is how much credit is available to you. Like with my
Versus
credit
how
card,
much debt you
versus
have.
versus the percentage that you have in debt. So like if you have a $10,000 credit limit on your card and you've got $5,000 on it, you only have 50% of your available credit available. From everywhere that I've ever read, if you're anything over like 35%, it's a negative on your credit score.
Interesting.
So if you have a $10,000 credit limit and you owe more than $3,500, it's negatively affecting
So
your
you
credit
should either
score.
pay it down or try and raise your limit. You fix it
Exactly.
2 ways.
Exactly. And I would not suggest raising the limit.
That's
I would
what got
suggest-
you in the problem in the first place.
So you started out at $300.
Yeah, that's what
Now
got you in
10
trouble.
grand.
Yeah, that's what got you in trouble.
But
in
you
the
know
first
what's
place.
funny is, and it's happened to me multiple times. Every time I've gotten my credit card up to one of those limits, all of a sudden I pay it down a little bit, and all of a sudden I get a nice little reminder. Hey, you want to raise your credit score?
Yeah,
You want to raise your limit?
Yeah, they automatically do it. Some of mine. I was
Yeah,
like,
like,
oh,
hey, he's using it. He's using it. But yeah, and so it took me a long time, and because I was trying to play the game and raise my credit score. And I was going through everything, and I was like, why am I not able to get a higher credit score? And I learned about that percentage that I had at the time. I had like 65% of my available credit was used. So that was a negative mark on my credit because I was overusing my credit limits, what they would consider a safe credit limit. So like I said, if anybody who's out there listening, if you have more than 35% of your available credit on a credit card used, that is negatively impacting your credit score.
So they're looking at it as if you can have 65 or so available credit to you that you're not using, you're a responsible person.
It raises your credit score.
Yeah.
And just like we said, if you get up a limit and then you say you raise your limit, now you're opening up you have a bigger window of credit available. And if you're down below that percentage, now your credit score goes up. There's a lot of tricks to working the system just like they're working you. And I think as any responsible person who's trying to make it through the world, they need to find out how to orchestrate their way through some of this BS, because it's all BS. And unless you figure out a way to work in it, and that took me a long time to figure out, because I was constantly like, I've got great payment history, I've got all these things line up, and I never could understand that. And as a few years ago, I started researching into the credit card, and like, how is it that I'm unable to raise my credit score? What is it that I need? Because your actual balance, the number that you owe, isn't as important as people think. If your credit card limit is $500 and you've got $300 on it, you're more than 35% of your available credit. It's a negative number. So if you have a $500 credit card and you've only got $100 on it and you're paying a payment on time every month, that raises your credit score. They don't care about that being a $500 card or being a $2,500 card. It's the payment history and how much of your available credit you're using, because if they say, oh, Joe, I'm going to give you $10,000 in credit, and you immediately go spend $9,500, they're going to go, well, you're irresponsible.
Yeah,
Look what you just did.
Yeah.
And so that's part of that scoring process. So it's more measured on how much of your debt. That's what I keep saying about the FICO score. It's a measurement of your usage of debt.
Yep. I can see that. I'm sitting here reading. Well, you've been talking. I'm sitting here reading through this Experian thing. Again, if you want to look at more of what Thomas and what we're talking about here, Experian is one of the biggest crediting companies in the world.
Yeah.
There's the three top: Experian,
Equifax,
and I can never remember the other one.
It's like Republic or
something like that. Anyway,
wasn't it TransUnion?
Transamerica, TransUnion, I can't remember. Anyway,
Yeah.
so you can look it up what the three big ones are if you're curious. But anyway, it's off of the Experian website, and you can Google how is a FICO
TransUnion, right?
TransUnion, something like that.
Fuck, who knows?
How is a FICO score calculated? And again, that's Experian.com. Breaks it down. Actually, pretty good description that they put there. So that's kind of cool if you're curious.
Yeah,
about
but those
that.
5 major factors
Yeah, they're right
are
there.
the payment history, credit utilization, length of credit history, new credit, and credit mix.
Yep. So continuing on with why do we use them? There are actually some good things depending on what kind of responsibility you can exercise with them. And some of those perks, or whatever you want to call them, are things like extended warranties. That's a very popular thing I know with, I think it's American Express, but it could be Discover, where they'll double the manufacturer's warranty of whatever you use, whatever you buy with
I
that credit
recently
card.
heard about that.
Yeah, they've been doing it for years. I don't have any of those credit cards that do that, but that's still pretty cool. Usually because those ones APRs are really, really high.
Oh, yeah, like
So I
American
don't mess with
Express.
it. Yeah, like 29, 31%, something stupid like
If
that.
you don't pay that off every month, they're
Dude,
going to tear you apart.
A lot of credit cards have, and we've all been hit with this, be it department stores or frequent flyer miles or even Amazon, rewards, perks, or discounts or cash back. So if you can be responsible enough to pay only put on your credit card what you have in cash to pay immediately, you can totally game the system and get whatever rewards you're looking for that whatever particular credit card you choose has to offer. I think before we started recording here, Thomas was mentioning a couple of, he knew some people who were really good at that and saving up their frequent flyer miles or whatever. I have some friends that every trip that they take is all paid for because they just save up their rewards. And they run everything they possibly can through their credit cards, but it's like their monthly bills, whatever they can.
So they're making one payment.
Yeah, and they have... but it's only what they have the cash to pay for. They're not carrying a balance because the minute you start paying interest to these people, to these credit card companies, you've lost any perks you could possibly have gained.
Or if you have a late payment, you're immediately screwed.
Yep. Sometimes it can be advantageous to do credit cards because sometimes you can jump on promotional low APR or no interest periods. One of the ones I use a lot is PayPal has what's called PayPal Credit. And PayPal Credit's standard term or standard deal, it's been this way for years, if you spend over $99 and use PayPal Credit, it's 6 months, 0 APR. So anything you spend, you have a limit, obviously a credit limit or whatever with them. And they don't really make it very high because this is their own credit offering. But yeah, anything you buy using PayPal, it's 6 months no APR. So that's pretty cool. It's free money as long as I pay it off in 6 months.
Yeah.
And I think maybe one time I've paid a little bit of interest, but here's the thing though. They have that catch. I think they call it, what do they call it? Trailing. I can't remember. Trailing interest. If within that 6 months, let's say you buy something for $1,000 and you don't pay it off in the 6 months, they charge you the high percentage rate for the entire 6 months.
From the date of purchase.
Even if you don't pay it all off. If you have $10 left, but you're on the 7th month or past the 6 month mark, you pay 29% on that $1,000, like if you didn't pay any of it off at all. So I think it's called trailing interest.
I'm pretty sure that is.
Yeah,
that's
but
what it is.
it's messed up, man. And that's so, but I mean, again, you shouldn't be using this stuff if you don't have the cash, or at least pretty damn sure you're going to have the cash in 2 or 3 months. That way you've got 6 to take care of it.
Yeah, most people forget about it 3 months later.
Well, they do send you reminders. They are nice about that. They'll tell you
They probably legally have to send you something.
yeah.
And that's the only reason they send them.
You get an email that says you have special financing purchases term ending or something like that. I can't remember exactly how it's worded, but they do warn you.
And you're like, what is this spam?
Yeah, delete it, yeah. Well, what's crazy too is like you'll see things because that's up to 6 months ago, right? So you look at what's coming up due, and you're like, "Damn, I bought that thing 6 months ago! Like, holy crap! I still haven't paid that off."
Depending on how much you drank, you don't remember what you did yesterday.
Yeah, that is a problem. That is a real problem. A condition I'm suffering from right now, actually. There is actually another. Okay, so we're still continuing with reasons why people use them or why we use them. I can't say I've ever cared about this one, but there are people out there who have credit cards as a form of status symbol. When you get into some of these boutique credit cards, like
Look at my
American,
black platinum card.
that's right. America. That's what I was going to say. The black card, right?
Right.
American Express is really stupid with that kind of stuff. They have different colors of, your limits or whatever, and or how. Which
Isn't that ridiculous?
It's
Doesn't that
just-
show an example of how stupid we are as people?
Yeah.
Yo, you get a different color.
You have the Starbucks Gold card,
And it's black.
Oh, it's black.
it's black. Yeah,
Why's it gonna be black, bro?
yeah, because black cards matter.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah, that's ridiculous. Or platinum, or,
Oh yeah, that's
or
the
whatever.
thing. I got a gold card.
Yeah, I got
Is
the-
platinum better than gold?
Platinum is better.
Is
than
platinum
gold.
better?
Yes.
See, I don't even know yet.
Well, a lot of places don't even have. Like my bank has a platinum, and there's no.
My credit card is red and white stripes. says be cautious of user.
Caution. Yeah.
It's like a diver down symbol.
Yellow. Flashing.
It is. They are a secure form of payment. They can be a whole lot more secure than, say, mailing cash to go into the post office, mailing cash to go buy your latest widget, or to pay a bill or whatever. So the security that comes with them. We were talking earlier too about having your credit card stolen. I've had this happen countless times because I do a lot of online shopping and have for a long time, and it's some people I talk to people, tell them about that when it happens, and they say, "Oh my gosh, that's so scary! Oh, I'm so thankful I never had that." It's not that big of a deal. All that ends up happening is the credit card company contacts you, they send you a new credit card, and then they cancel all those transactions like nothing ever happened. So I mean, every time I have it, it's not even. If I have it happen, I'm not even. It's not even something.
They
to be
also have
worried about.
protections if you buy something and it doesn't come right. Sometimes they'll
Yes.
protect you from the seller.
Yes. You can go to your credit card company and say, "Hey, can you cancel that transaction because this person or this company did so and so?" And so that's another good one. I didn't actually have that on here. Buyer protection, a little bit of buyer protection from that. I guess that's in addition to.
Does any of those cover drunken late night Amazon purchases?
I can't remember buying these beers.
I know I didn't buy that stuff.
Yeah, I didn't order those fries. They made me do it.
Why is this guy at my door with beer and a weed?
Convenient. Nice. DoorDash your weed, huh? Hey, for those who don't live in a legal state where marijuana is legal, we have billboards around here advertising companies that will deliver you your weed, like like you can order
Home
food.
delivery.
Yeah, they'll home deliver your weed. It's freaking pretty crazy. Let's
Like
see.
Mr. Nice Guy making home.
Mr. Nice Guy, yeah, that's what I was trying to think of. Half Baked. What was it
Right.
called?
Oh, wow.
Half Baked, yeah. Okay, so along the lines of, totally lost where I was here. Oh, convenient access to money. That was another one. Yeah, it's a secure form of payment, but it's also convenient access to funds. If you're going to go make a big purchase, you're going to go buy that new MacBook computer or laptop or whatever you're going to go buy, you probably don't want to carry $3,000, $2,000 in cash into the Best Buy and buy it. No, you just bring your card in. And actually these days, I don't know if I use my iPhone, Apple Pay or Apple Wallet.
Oh, yeah.
For like everything, dude. And pretty much all the machines except Android, whatever the Android version is. I don't know what that one is, but they all accept Apple Pay now. So I just pay with my my phone. And one nice thing about that is my particular bank, the ATM check card, the one with the little Visa symbol on it. For some reason, the particular plastic or whoever the hell they use for those cards or makes those cards, the mag strips die on them and the chips die on them too. Like they're junk, I guess. They don't last. They don't last very long. Or maybe I just use the damn thing too much.
That's what it is. You're using the damn thing too
I've
much.
had the same debit card for like 6
Yeah, me
years.
too.
Okay, no, dude, I get like 6 months out of these things, and I have to go have a new
Jesus,
one
man.
printed and done. So, but
Do you carry magnets in your pocket?
yeah,
That too.
I'm trying to quit, but you know, no. So I use my phone there all
Those
the
are
time
chick
now.
magnets.
Chick me, yeah. I'm fresh out of those, unfortunately, but
Maybe you need a better credit card.
yeah. I don't have that American
black-
Express black, dude.
That platinum, dude.
Platinum.
You
I
need
have the
that
platinum. I don't have the American
Just walk
Express
into the
black.
bar and break out your platinum and wave it really high at the bar. I'll take a round with my platinum card. Thank you very much. And then smile at the hot girl to get into the bar.
Yeah. It's platinum, baby.
Platinum.
Means I don't actually have cash. I just
Everything
have
below the
credit.
waist. Everything below the waist is platinum, baby.
He loves gold. Platinum member, dude. Yeah. So convenient access money. Let's see. Oh, this is something I've had this. I don't know if I say argument, discussion with quite a few people regarding using credit cards versus paying cash for stuff. I I am of the mindset I hate cash. I don't carry cash. It's gross. It's dirty. I don't like messing around with it. I just whatever. I don't see the reason to carry it. Now, if I'm going to a bar, it's nice to, I guess to have the cash right there.
So you're going to get drunk and leave your credit card there?
Well, that's, okay, so there is some reality to that.
That's why I do it.
But a lot of times what I do the bar thing because I'll do it at bars because I pull out, $40-$60 and this is it.
That's my limit.
This is my limit. Yeah.
That's a good
when
idea,
you
too.
open your wallet, because I'm wasted beyond belief and I see no more cash in there, night's off. You're done. So, assuming I don't reach for the credit card, but
Right.
that's usually I'm able to do that and just cut myself off when I run out of cash. So that's neither here nor there. But the argument that I had in defense or for in the pro side of using credit cards is for those of us out there who track their finances, using a credit card for everything or an ATM debit card
It's
or whatever.
a paper trail.
Yeah, it's a paper trail, but that's very convenient for me because at the end of the year when I have to do my finances or during monthly, however you track your finances, you pull out your credit card statement and there's every single one of your transactions right there. No digging through receipts. No, I mean, you should save your receipts if you're going to be, doing some business expenses or whatever. I mean, you would know what your own financial situation is, how you would save those if you're going to save them. But I appreciate the advantage and option to just pull out a statement and see all my transactions right there. And then if you track your finances in some sort of financial tracking software, like say Quicken or something, you can, I don't do this, but you can download pre-formatted data directly from your bank and then import it into your financial tracking software.
Oh.
So, and again, you can't do that for a cash purchase.
Wow.
Now, if you pay with cash, you have to start saving receipts and digging through your receipts to find out where your money went. And one of the reasons I love tracking my finances because it helps for you creating your budget, knowing where your money's going, keeping track of what you owe on things, how much interest did you pay on that car loan, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. See, for me, with my business, a lot of my vendors offer cash discounts. So a lot of
If you pay them cash?
if I pay in cash.
Oh, okay, I see.
Yes,
I see.
I've got two of my main vendors that I
Yeah.
work with. They'll give me 10% discount if I use cash.
That's right, because I remember some of the stuff I've had you build or whatever. When we got, they said if you pay cash, it's less. Or okay, cool. Yeah, which kind of sucks because without a receipt,
I still get a receipt.
Oh, okay.
It's just they'll give you a discount for paying cash.
I've noticed some gas stations do that. You
Yes.
have to
A
pay
lot of gas stations do that.
more
And
per gallon of gas.
Yep.
if you
I tell
charge
people
it.
all the time you should buy your gas with cash because you get discounts on almost every single. Sometimes it's up to 15 cents per gallon.
Whoa,
Yeah.
damn.
Arco is between 10 and 15 cents per gallon.
Yeah, we mentioned Arco earlier. For those that aren't around our area, Arco Gas is just a gas company.
It's big West Coast.
It's just I don't even know if it's. Oh, so it is West Coast. Okay.
Yeah, but most gas stations will have two prices.
Yeah.
I
If
have
you
seen
check
that,
it, yeah,
but I
it's
never have cash, so I never
Yeah,
get to
cash
take part
versus
in
credit,
that.
but they'll charge you up to. Sometimes they'll charge you up to 20 cents more for using a credit card, or a card in general.
Jeez. Okay. Well, that's something.
So if you're if you're someone who's trying to cut down on your gas expenses,
Yeah.
one of the easiest ways is to pay cash.
Interesting. Okay. Well, there you go. Okay, let's start talking about why these things are bad. We've already covered several, but
There's several more.
there were some interesting ones that I was reading. I was reading an article I was reading an article that was focusing on an effect, a kind of a side effect of using credit cards. And what they said, how they worded it in this article was that they lend to a decrease in self-regulation. And apparently this has been shown in multiple studies. They've actually done some research on this. And I think it's along the lines of maybe it's like your gateway drug. The more you use this to purchase things with money you don't have, the more likely you are to continue doing exactly that. And they were saying they found too in these studies that people are more likely to spend more in any given situation
With credit cards.
with a credit card versus pulling cash out of their wallet.
Well,
I mean,
well-
I think this kind of goes back to the cruise ships too. Will try not to allow you to be using cash there because they want you to put it on some form of not real
Dude,
money.
that's right. Yeah. Yeah.
Because once
They don't
you
want you
break
to
it
see
away, exactly. Once you
Yeah.
break it away from the real money, you don't. It's fantasy land. It's like Monopoly money. You're just
it's
hey,
not real.
and
That's one of the things too is an emotional connection to your own money. Like if you like you were saying about going out and drinking, and I do that exact same thing if I'm going to go out and have drinks with somebody. I'll put a certain amount of cash in my pocket. That's how much cash. That's my budget. When that money's gone, so is the good times.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Speaking
and
of
so if you're on a card, you're not going to do that. But if you have a $100 bill and you break that $100 bill, you're like, whoa. It's an emotional. You see that and you think about it. It's a tangible item in front of you. And you're like, whoa, that's not a $100 bill anymore. Now it's $60. Now it's $40. Oh shit, I better slow down.
Along the lines, exact lines of what you're just talking about, I've noticed something for myself. If I have running a balance on my credit card, right? One of the things I've always thought was annoying is as you charge more and run up your run the balance higher, how much you owe, it's a positive number. It goes up. If you have money in your checking account or you have cash in your pocket and you pull away from that, your number goes down, which feels bad. That's a negative. So it's like they switched.
It's not like you're reducing your credit limit. You're actually
your balance.
Increasing your balance.
Yeah. So it's like they reversed it, and I'm sure they did that intentionally.
Right. Psychologically.
Yeah. So for me, if I have, it's been a long damn time, but there was a time when I had zero credit debt. Right, zero credit balance, and money in savings instead. When I would pull out money from that number and that number went down, I felt the emotional attachment, the bad, like, oh man, I've been saving for months and now I just dipped under. I had just got it over 5,000. Now it's 4,000. And I was like, oh, I feel terrible. I don't want to do this. I want to do this. I got to hurry up and get it back in there. Whereas if it's credit, it doesn't hurt so bad when you look at the statement. He's like, oh, it's going up.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't have that tangible emotional attachment to it, and that's why.
Yes, that's why it works.
That's why it works. Yeah, and people are, and that's absolutely true. I mean, people are more prone to spend more money with a credit card.
Yeah.
That they don't have, because if you give somebody cash and you say this is all the money you have, you give them say $100.
That's your budget.
That's your budget.
Yeah, you can't budget with credit cards.
Once
really.
this $100 is gone, you have no more money.
Yeah, that's it.
Then you think about your purchases a little bit differently.
Yeah.
The other
When
thing
you got
is
a credit card in your hand,
the cash, they take it and keep it.
Yeah.
The card, they take it, swipe it, and give it back to you.
So you didn't even
now,
get
nothing
now
happened.
it never even leaves your hand. You
Yeah.
plug it in, you unplug it.
Yeah, well, now it's through my phone, but yeah.
just all numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, you don't physically part with something. And that's a very good point. They hand it right back. Here you go. We just need to borrow this for a second.
Yeah.
You're all right. Go have fun.
Yeah, you're good.
Continue having fun.
Yeah, we didn't take anything.
No.
Just pretend nothing happened here.
Okay.
Sign on this line.
The next one's real obvious, the interest fees. And I mean,
Oh my
it
God.
blows me away. So I've been fortunate to have low interest APRs, like 7.9, under 10. But there are credit cards out there I've seen up to like, I want to say 34% is the highest I've ever seen. I think it was 34.1
They
or
started
something.
peaking 30% about 5 or 6 years
Yes,
ago.
29.99 was the max for a long time.
That's what I
right?
remember.
Yeah, now it's over 30.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. That's
It's
a
a
third.
third.
That's a third of your money.
mind-blowing.
That is, isn't that?
Yeah.
I mean, I borrow $100, so I got to pay. It's going to cost me $33 or $30.
You might as well get money from Vinny down on the corner.
I mean, dude, yeah, you might be able to talk him out and
Probably
not break
easier
your
to
legs.
lose to lose a finger than
Yeah.
pay back that freaking
They
debt.
might just pull a fingernail out. It'll grow
Right.
back.
Yeah.
I mean, damn, dude, that's as bad as those check cashing places
Oh,
too.
my
I mean,
God,
aren't those
yeah,
things
those
like
are-
50% or something? Stupid
I don't
40%.
think that, but they're pretty freaking
They're
high.
nuts.
They're over 30.
Right.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, you go in there to cash a $200 check and you get $140 back.
I'm sorry, people. If you've ever found yourself in that situation, man.
But if you're listening
I
and
feel
you have
bad for
yourself
you.
in that position, it's free to have a checking account almost at many banks, especially credit unions, and you could avoid that.
No, the check cashing places give you an advance.
Oh, if you're getting
Yeah.
advances,
So you
yeah,
don't
that's a
have
whole
your
other story.
paycheck
I thought
yet.
but if you're just cashing your check, because they charge you for cashing
No,
checks
you know,
too.
they're not called check cashing.
It's like payday.
They are called check
payday
cashing.
Check
loans.
cash advance or something like that.
Well, they
Payday
have a
loans?
bunch of
Payday-
different terms they
payday
use.
advance,
Yeah.
yeah.
What
Payday
BS.
advance. They have
And-
payday advance, but that's an action.
Yeah,
That's
and
a different-
they're
yeah.
always annoyingly brightly lit too. It's to keep
You
people
won't be able
from.
to see them in the dark.
Yeah, well, yeah, it keeps people from going nuts in there when they.
Oh, yeah.
And they're all bulletproof glass everywhere. Like they're
Right.
ghetto as fuck, dude. It's like, yeah. Sorry if you've ever had to use one, man. Those things they do not look. They're not fun, and they're not there to be nice to you.
No,
that's
no.
for sure.
They're
You are
there.
you are getting raped.
It's expensive being poor.
Damn.
Very much so.
Damn. Some of these credit cards have annual fees. That's I've always thought was ridiculous. Why in the hell am I going to pay you?
And some of those are like a couple $100
Yes,
a year.
yeah.
I've
Yes.
heard though that you can get some really good perks out of the ones that you
Yes.
pay, and it can be a benefit to actually pay the freaking annual fee.
I haven't.
If
found
you're
one
going
of
to
those.
use those,
Yes.
Yes, that
If you're just an average person
Yes.
and you're paying that fee, you
Right.
should
If you're-
find out why.
if
or
you're
there's
only
an
paying
option
the
to
fee
not.
because nobody else will give you credit, those are
That's
definitely the
different.
bad
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And of course, we've already mentioned this one. This is the last one I had on my list here. Why are they bad? Because we're literally spending money we don't have. Now,
and we're conditioning ourselves to
Absolutely.
spend more money that we don't have because it's no tangible emotional connection.
gateway drug.
It's a gateway drug, yeah.
yeah. Now, I'm not against saying that they can also be very good to have for emergency purposes. So let's say you do find yourself in some sort of a situation. I mean, I don't know, who knows? Maybe you get yourself in trouble with
You're
the law.
traveling and your car breaks down.
Or your car, you need a large chunk of change. Your car breaks down. You don't have the money for it. I mean, you can go to a check cashing place and get raped, or you can get raped by the credit card company. I mean,
Not quite so hard by the credit card.
yeah, it's a little more gentler. They use lubrication.
But it's still a raping.
It's still a raping. So for the purposes of emergencies, I think it's smart to have them around if you can avoid.
I mean,
the
that was
temptation.
my original intent of having credit cards was when I was younger, when we were touring all the time. I wanted to have a backup plan for money.
Yeah.
And that backup plan was like I own the van that we were touring in, and thankfully it never really broke down because I was a mechanic and I was constantly fixing the thing and pre-maintain. But there was always that thought in my mind that we're going to need a tire.
Yeah.
That's $200, or we're going to need a transmission that's $2,000, whatever. So I had originally gotten a credit card for that purpose to have an emergency fund. And I think if you look at a credit card in a responsible manner like that, especially if you're going to carry
Look at it like a tool.
and it is, and it should be used that way.
It's a financial tool.
It's a financial tool, and it can be used to your advantage. If you have a credit card and you have good credit, and say you got a $2,500 balance or a $5,000 balance or whatever, and you carry a zero balance or carry a balance, you're paying it off.
Wait. You mean limit or balance?
Limit.
Okay.
Sorry,
limit. Yeah.
Sorry. And if you have that limit, that's like an emergency immediate fund.
Yep.
You're going to have to pay the interest and everything if you have to use it.
Yep.
But in the same regard, if you're traveling or something happens and you're like, oh man, now I'm stuck, and you can turn around and go, I got a $2,500 budget to save my ass.
Yep.
And that's how I
would
always try
say
to look at credit cards.
That credit, though, is a tool like a gun is a tool.
Don't point it at yourself.
Well, yeah. Or
You
you
could hurt
also
yourself?
want to be the one holding it, because if the credit
true.
card companies are using it as a tool on you, you're the one
And that's normally what's going on.
Exactly. So if you can get your hand on the grip of that gun, then
Stay
you're
away
in a
from
much
the business
better
end.
shape. Yeah.
Unless you're like
business end.
Keanu Reeves in The Matrix, and you can
Dodge the bullets. Yeah. Oh, and
Can you dodge the creditors?
I don't know.
Yeah. Well, you were talking
have the
about
fake social security number.
you were talking about those credit cards that offer the 6 months zero,
Yeah.
and then rolling the balances over.
Yeah.
Those people are dodging bullets, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had friends do that too.
Do what?
They'll roll a balance from one to another with a zero, a zero.
Use Peter to pay Paul.
Pretty much like a 0% APR for 6 months. And they'll roll a balance here and roll a balance
Yeah.
here, and it's just like foregoing a student loan. At some point,
Yeah.
you're going to have to pay for
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. It's all. Yeah. And you're just hoping that you're just banking on
Right.
that you're going to be in a better spot.
You might get
financially.
lucky and not have to pay things for a while, but at some point, it's going to catch up with you.
Yeah. Now, that said, there are circumstances when loan consolidation is not a bad thing. If you owe multiple credit cards
Yeah.
and you've got sky high APRs, I would say if you can stop the spending and maybe get rid of the credit cards altogether, go out and consolidate those things into a single loan that's usually a lower APR through your bank, and they will help you get that thing paid off quicker with one payment and less interest being lost in the process.
In that sentence, though, I would strongly urge people not to go to debt consolidation companies.
No, go to your bank.
Go to your bank.
Yeah, go to a bank. Don't,
Those
you know.
companies are predatory as hell.
Yeah. Yeah. And a
But
lot of them
yeah,
shady.
but a lot of people don't realize going straight to their bank is a better option for a lot of things in credit.
Yep. And the bank just wants the interest from you. That's all they're
Absolutely.
doing. If you have a good bank that you bank with, they will work with you, to get
Yeah.
yourself out of what you've put yourself into.
Yeah, it's just like the only credit card that I have is issued through my bank, and the percentage rate that I got when I applied for it was 10% lower than what I was getting to just like randomly go online or try to apply for a Visa or whatever, because I went through the bank that I have an established checking and savings account through.
Yeah.
It was 10% lower.
Yep. Wow.
And I didn't have amazing credit. I was probably high 600s at the time, but it was still 10% less. That's a dramatic number.
That is huge, dude. Especially when it's money you got to pay for borrowing
Right.
money. That's a huge.
Or the alternative is 30%.
Oh yeah.
blows me. I've never had a
Yeah.
credit card that high.
But I mean, I think anybody that has a credit card balance, I'm kind of going through a credit card thing now where for a couple of years, I just had to use it for my business and I was struggling and kind of thing. But I'm sort of recovering a little bit now. And the the one thing that I'm doing that anybody who's going to give you real credit advice will tell you is pay off your credit cards, double up, do whatever you can, make the sacrifices to pay those balances off, because that's where you're losing the most amount of money.
Bleeding
Money from probably any other thing that you're doing financially.
Yeah.
Your home loan, if you have a home loan, it's not going to go from 3% to 25.
Yeah.
You know, but your credit card could go from 17 to 28.
Oh, you mean as far as change? Yeah, they can change the APRs whenever they want.
Exactly. So you know, any advice is to pay those off as much as you can, and you have to make sacrifices. If you've gotten yourself into a credit card debt, and I was kind of feeling that way because I was kind of maxing out one of my cards with the business, and I was just kind of letting it roll and making the minimum payments. And then one day I looked at the bill, and I went, "Wow, my minimum payment is X amount, and I'm paying." Wow, that much is the principal for this month? Are you kidding me?
Yeah,
it made me sick.
Yeah.
You know, I physically felt ill.
Yeah, that's why. Before we started recording, I was telling these guys, just wait till you get your first mortgage bill, and you're like, holy shit, my mortgage is $2,000 a month, and wait, what is this? $200 is going to principal? Where the hell's the rest of the money going?
Yeah,
into the thin air, dude.
Right.
Not to our pockets.
Pockets of the bank.
That's it.
It's going to CEOs getting bonuses and a bunch of
doing
lazy,
blow off hookers.
Right. Yeah. it's buying more blow off the ass of strippers.
That's it. All right. That's all I've got. You guys got anything else you want to?
No, I'm good.
All right.
I would say just
covered it all.
Yeah, I think we covered it pretty good. But I would just say, you know, and anybody out there, you know, credit card debts can seem very overwhelming. But you know, anybody who's in, you know, I'm self-employed, so I don't have a budget that a lot of people have. If you have a budget and you're working on a budget and you know what that is, you need to be responsible and really honestly look at what that number and be diligent about the amount that you have. And if you feel like you're overwhelmed by credit cards or overwhelmed by things, you got to make the sacrifice to pay those off. The high interest, any high interest debt that you have is the first thing that you should tackle if you're trying to recover in any situation. And 9 times out of 10, that high interest is a credit card.
Yeah, when you get rid of it, it's like getting a raise.
So
oh my
you
God!
mentioned what was it, David Ramsey or something?
Yeah,
like
David
that?
Ramsey gives.
If you've got
Dave
multiple credit cards, he suggests you pay the minimum on everything except for your highest, and then
the
throw
highest
all
one
the
out first.
extra money on there first. Yeah,
Because you're already paying those. You're already paying those numbers anyway.
And rolling it down, exactly.
Yeah, and then move to the next highest level one, and I've heard a lot of people say the same thing. And you know, if you ever listen to Dave Ramsey talk about financial whatever, within a minute of hearing the guy talk, the first thing he says is, "But only thing smart to do with a credit card is cut it up."
Yeah, get rid of them. Don't even leave yourself the potential for that trap.
Yeah, especially if you're somebody who knows that you have, a weakness to do something, or maybe you're
spending habit or whatever.
Yeah, we live in a system that is made of games, financial games, and unless you know how to play those financial games, they're in the winning side, and the rest of us are on the losing side. So it's up to everybody. And I know when you're younger, it's hard to do this because you're trying to learn how to get through life and how to figure things out. And there's always somebody standing there going, "Hey, have a credit card, student." Yeah. You're already taking out $80,000 in student loan. Hey, what's another $15,000? And
you're going to be in credit debt someday. Yeah, just start now, man.
Just jump on in. That way you can have this new shiny this and shiny this.
Help you get by.
Yeah, and I'm sure everybody who listens to the show knows that we've said this over and over and over. Don't fall for the great distractions and credit cards and this false mentality of you can afford anything. How much is the monthly payment?
Yeah,
don't fall for it.
Definitely is one of the great distractions.
Right?
That's funny. I forgot about that. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah. Ties in very nicely.
All right, guys. We hope you appreciated that, and we'll see you next time. Show notes and other info can be found at our website, greatdistraction.com. The Great Distraction is listed in iTunes, and we greatly appreciate it when our listeners take the time to look us up and leave us a 5-star rating and review. That helps our show grow and motivates us to continue producing content. If you'd like to get in contact with us, you can do so using the email address, greatdistractionpodcast@gmail.com, or via our website. We're always interested in hearing any thoughts, comments, or questions from our listeners. Keeping up on the latest from us can be done in several different ways. You can add us to your favorite RSS feed tracker. The link is available on our website or in iTunes. Or you can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Just search for Great Distraction, one word, no space. As always, thank you for listening, and thank you for all the support.